Getting women to the deal table has been an elusive target, and one that has seen the exclusion of women across industry. And when we look at the oil and gas industry in particular, we find a domain that has, to a large extent, been the preserve for male participation. But it's not doom and gloom all around. There have been those few shoots that have managed to penetrate through the cement. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we have the honor of hearing from them. Allow me to please welcome the chairman of Sasol Oil and the executive in residence at Wits University, Maurice Radebe.
The last time we had a seminar like this, we were talking about the leadership that we need that will ensure that all the natural resources that are discovered throughout the continent, whether it's oil, gas, we know in Mozambique in particular, we've got natural gas, and whether any mineral that is there, what type of leadership do we need to have, to make sure that the beneficiation of these resources happen in this continent?
This is the opportunity for us to start building from the ground, given the fact that we are talking about new industries and new possibilities. So I would really urge us, firstly, to encourage young girls to take keen interest in the sciences and related areas of skilling and education, so that in the future, when these opportunities unfold in earnest, they are there to take their rightful place and participate.
An exciting part of the program where we get a 5-minute snapshot from each of the speakers about their game-changing moment. But in essence, we're looking for that phase in their lives that catapulted them to where they are today.
The first one was passing a BProc degree from Wits University, having come directly from school in the township in Cosmos, and I grew up in Katlehong. That's the one. The second one was being appointed as CEO of EDI Holdings at 35, massive project that was intended to amalgamate the distribution industry, electricity distribution industry in this country. No precedence.
The board of Petro SA is to be congratulated for demonstrating to its peers that it is indeed possible to find a woman to lead an oil and gas company in the country. Interesting how we congratulate the men for giving a woman a job. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome with a warm round of applause, Maurice Radebe.
The game-changing moments. I'm going to be like Pindile and say there were two. The first one, I think, was actually graduating with a master's in the then Soviet Union, which is no more. It's Russia and a lot of many countries now. Having studied in Russian and graduated cum laude. I think that was that was the first. The second moment, I think, I came back home, I came back to South Africa, and I worked for an oil company. And in the second year of my employment, I was approached by the CEO to accompany them with the directors on a delegation. They were going to receive Russians, and they'd heard that there's somebody in this company apparently. This was 1994. There's somebody in this company who can actually speak that language. So as a junior staff from the bottom of the ranks in the laboratory, I was asked to accompany the directors with an interpret for the Russians. And when I saw how people sit in boardrooms and take decisions, and I was interpreting all the things that needed to be interpreted and getting au fait with the lingo in the boardroom and the dynamics. And by the way, I must state, the way they lived as well. The private jets and the private apartments, but really most importantly, the power of the boardroom and the decision makers. And the decision making, I said, I want to be there.
I suppose the second defining moment in my career was when I was appointed as the MD of the Air Traffic and Navigation Services Company. As you say, it's very very male-dominated, and going into, you know, when I spoke at conferences, the audience would go quiet because I would be one of the only women who would be speaking, and they would, you know, wonder if I had anything useful to say. And then I suppose probably a very special defining moment was when I was appointed at Sasol, and more particularly as the MD of Sasol Gas. That has probably been a really, really awesome experience, and I'm proud to say that when I started at Sasol Gas, there were few women and there were few black people on the executive committee. I'm proud to say that 50% of us are now black and 40% are women. So we have taken the challenge.
We understand the type of society that we live in. We all know. We know that it's difficult to actually make it. It's not only in the oil industry, but especially in these male-dominated industries. So that's a given. So I think as young women, when we come into that industry, because we know what the situation is and what the given is, we've got to have our game plan. So what's the game plan? You need to decide and understand what it is that you want to do. Once you've understood what you want to do and what you want to attain, it's very important to equip ourselves with that requisite knowledge. Not just the requisite knowledge, but also equip ourselves with the system. How does the system work? Because one thing you're not going to do is beat that system. Right. So you've got to make sure that you construct your strategy in such a way that it fits in within how the system works. So know the system. Equip yourself with knowledge and then make yourself relevant. Make yourself heard. Engage. Do not be afraid to engage and make yourself relevant, because you know that you're already dealing with something that's against you and you've got to be hitting harder at it. So make sure that you equip yourself with those things that make you do that. And that's how, unfortunately, or fortunately, in our industry, you've got to be heard. You can't be quiet and meek, because that's not going to work. Everybody would like you to sit there and be quiet and meek. But you can't also say, hey, we've been forgotten, this isn't fair, because that's also not going to work. What does work, though, as I said, you've got the knowledge, you've got the confidence, engage, you know the system, work it.
One of the blights, or should be a blight on the conscience of Africans, is the inability to translate the lucrative revenues that potentially come out of this industry into economic futures for ordinary people. What is it that women should be doing to ensure that this particular industry actually translates into benefit for ordinary Africans?
One of the things I do in organizations I work in, I ban 7 o'clock meetings. Because as women, we don't have wives to take our children to work. So I do believe that as women leaders, we tend to be more attentive to those issues rather than people who know the system and think that the system works and they'd rather continue the system because it's comfortable for them.
We will not be forgiven if we miss the gas boom.
Yeah.
And by that, I mean all the plans, all the developmental plans of the country in order to unleash socio-economic development have got to be very closely linked to what are the benefits that we are going to derive from this new frontier, which is the gas frontier. So rather than extract and export, the emphasis should be extract, use at home, beneficiate it, use that, and then if you must export, if you've got extra, then do so. But do start at home.
Are there structures and platforms that are in place for women to access should they want to position themselves for these opportunities?
We are seeing a whole lot of exploration happening now off the coast of South Africa, which wasn't there before. So we've got multinationals that have come in, taken acreage, and are looking to explore for oil and gas off our coast. PetroSA is in partnership with quite a few of these companies. And for me, what I'm saying that I don't think it's enough currently is because there's a totally new business opportunities that are now starting to become more interesting because of the fact that we're looking now at this new frontier. Now, I was just going to say, so what should really be happening is that industry should be playing a more active role in getting that information out into society to say, listen, this is what is happening. There are now new opportunities, and the opportunities lie in the following areas. And so people can start getting themselves organized to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
What do you think the future of gas and oil looks like for women in particular? And I'll start again with you, Sis Pindile.
Women can't miss the renewable energy revolution. There's ample opportunities there in terms of skills and preparing ourselves now, and the business opportunities that are coming through with the country ramping up its megawatts complement coming from renewable energy. We just need to share the information on time and assist people to position themselves, women to position themselves to take the advantages.
Knowledge is power. There's nobody that can take knowledge out of your head. They can take a lot of things from you, but the knowledge that you have, nobody can take it out. So you've got to acquire the requisite knowledge that's required, so that when you do speak and when you do engage and when you do knock on that door, as I said, you are able to be relevant and add the value that is necessary. So for me, that's, since we're sitting at Wits Business School, it's all about knowledge.
Take the opportunities as they arise and work as hard as you can. I think I agree with Nosiza. There's nothing better than working hard.
So as much as our democratic government has put all the enablers in place in terms of the constitution and all the things that we know that are empowering or towards empowerment of women, society has not really bitten as they should in terms of implementation. So you do need the women organizations to exist, but they must be, and they are, I think, but they must be very clear in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Can we push in the absence of men? Here's the funny thing. I think you cannot change the socio-economic fabric without taking the men along with you. So even though, one might say, no, now we must leave these guys out. You cannot. Because effectively, what you're trying to do is you're trying to change the society. You're trying to change how society deals with women. And leaving them out is actually counterproductive.
I think what we must always try to understand is that being a chemical engineer, or being a mathematician or a chartered accountant is what gets you into the organization. And then I think once you're in the organization, then I think a completely different set of rules apply. And you really have to learn the rules of the game, and you have to play it until you get to a point where you can change it. And of course, hopefully we will, we all take those opportunities when we can. But it's about developing acquired confidence, having the right attitude, taking the opportunities, getting on with it, and basically treating every opportunity with all you have, So, and, obviously in that way get noticed and then get promoted. I think we need to get women up that ladder with their high heels on, so.
Find yourself a mentor. Find yourself a mentor. I have, and I know they've made a big difference in my life. So over and above everything else that has been said, you are a graduate, you need to acquire the skill of an engineer. Be humble enough to participate in those processes so that you become the peer range and you're competent.